Hi, it's Nick Shell, the internet receding hairline guy. We're gonna have a lot of fun today. I got a comment this morning that I wrote down on the sticky note, and I'm gonna read it because I think it reveals a lot about what goes on our heads as far as men with receding hairlines. We're gonna look at the psychological undertones of what's going on in this comment. And so I definitely appreciate this comment. I'm gonna read it and then I'm gonna address it because I think we've got a lot to learn from this comment that I received today. It says, quote, "Dude, you're a married man with kids. Maybe your hair wasn't receding back then. What if you were single and looking now? How ironic that your wife didn't even consider you, only like, quote, oh, this guy is showing interest. I guess I'll give him a chance. I appreciate the interest shown," end quote. Not that you're ugly, end quote. There was a quote within a quote. He was pretending to be my wife in that scenario. Now, before we get to work, they are mowing the lawn, so we can't walk down the sidewalk. We're gonna have to go over here to finish this conversation. Get away from that mower there. Okay, so there's several things that we need to talk about. We're still running away from that mower, aren't we? Okay. We're getting there. We're almost there. Now we've got a generator. But it's okay because I'm prepared for the unexpected. I'll find a way to get around it. You know why? Because I am not a victim. I'm a victor. I'll find ways to overcome it. All right, now that we got to a quieter place, we're gonna talk more about this comment I received and really dissect what's going on. So first of all, dude, you're a married man with kids. Yes, if you haven't Googled me yet, you'll learn that actually my YouTube channel is the least of what I do. I actually have a blog. I've been doing that for years. People send me free cars to drive. My blog is much bigger than my YouTube channel. Yes, I'm actually a daddy blogger, so that's the real version of me. This is just something I do on the side. All right, maybe your hair wasn't receding back then. Was my hair receding? I met my wife 10 years ago. This October makes 10 years ago. My hair didn't actually look much different. My hairline wasn't that much different. It was still kind of receding. It's just my hair was longer and I guess it was less obvious. So I pretty much, my hair wasn't much different 10 years ago, and it was about the same. It was a little bit different, but that really wasn't an issue. What if you were single and looking now? I mean, you know, I'll answer that. I think it's just a very hypothetical question. Here's why. I feel that question is a little bit like, if you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler, would you? You know, to prevent the Jews from being dying and all that stuff. Could we prevent that? You know, either way, you're killing a baby. Now, I think it's such a hypothetical question that it's hard to answer, but I'll do my best. So if you're asking me, what if I was single today? So we're assuming what? That like at age 35, I'm single? See, that would change who I'd be, I guess, trying to date, because 10 years ago when I met my wife, she and I were both 25. So at age 35, I'd be, I guess, looking for people that are close to my age now. I guess what you're getting at on this is, would it be harder for me to date as a 35-year-old man with less hair? But again, I didn't have that much less hair than I do now. So it's not really any different. So I guess hopefully that answers the question, that my hair is not much different than it was 10 years ago. It was a little bit longer, but that's about it. Let's see. How ironic your wife didn't even consider you. Now, just to kind of make sure what we know he's talking about. The video yesterday I talked about had said that, so here's what happened. So my wife and I met on October 5th, 2006. And then, let's see, November, so 4 months to the day later, we went on our first date. We were friends for 4 months. And she had told me in hindsight that she never once thought of me in that way. It's not that she didn't think I was attractive. She just never once thought, is this guy good looking or not? And I know that's hard to grasp, but she verifies that every time, if I ever bring it up, she always verifies. Man, and now there's helicopters. There's a lot trying to distract us from hearing this truth in this story today, isn't there? But again, we're not victims, we overcome. Even if there's helicopters in Nashville, they're here all the time. Okay, so as far as my wife goes though, and her not, it's not that she didn't find me attractive, it's that she flat out didn't think of me in that way. And I think women have that ability to not instantly judge a guy on their looks. Because again, like I mentioned yesterday, that's not what they're wired to necessarily find a mate in. That's not the number one thing like it is with guys. We immediately notice that first. They're not that way. So it is possible for a woman to be friends with a guy for 4 months and never think of him in that sort of way. And that was the case with my wife. And it doesn't hurt my feelings that she didn't think of me as attractive or non-attractive either way. It's actually a compliment to me, and that makes me feel good because I'm thinking, man, okay, so eventually when I am bald for the rest of my life and shave off my hair, it really will make zero difference to her. In fact, if I were to ask her right now and have her on the video, I'd say, hey, would you rather me have my hair like this or a little bit shorter or just shave it off? What would she say? She'd say shave it off, is what she'd say. That's how little she cares about my hair. And that's the big point in this video today. You, the guy, care about your hair, and you think it's this tragic thing that you're losing your hair, yet pretty girls don't care. You know, it's funny, there's this concept that if a girl is really pretty, then she's also really high maintenance, and therefore she's really into herself and really into looks, and therefore you assume that she's into your looks as well and that matters. But what I found personally, now keep in mind, I picked the right girl in this out of all in this world. I picked the right one for me. That I found someone who's not only beautiful, but also is not judgmental as far as looks go for me. And it's funny because I've said that many times in my video, that if you look a lot of times at the husbands of what we call very hot wives, I mean just these perfect looking wives, you look at them, you look at their husband, a lot of the times what you're going to find is their husband's looks don't match the equivalent of the wife's looks. In fact, many a time, what you should do is I look at those husbands, and often they're bald, they shave their head. Because the wife doesn't care about that. She cares about him being funny and providing and being sensitive and all those things we've talked about before, being mature and being confident. So if anything, maybe it's an advantage because that guy doesn't have hair. He has to make up for it in other ways, like all those things I just mentioned. So I'm glad that someone left this comment today. I feel that I've basically addressed all these issues. But in review, yes, I am married with kids. I'm 35 years old, so it's kind of expected by this point. My hair was about the same as it was now as it 10 years ago. I mean, I've had a slightly receding hairline since I was 19, and it's been getting a little bit worse every year. But do a side-by-side comparison for me 10 years ago. Here's actually what you'd find. You'd find out that I weighed more. I mean, I've lost weight since 10 years ago because I became a vegan. 10 years ago, I ate whatever I wanted. So that'd be the main thing you'd notice. You wouldn't really notice my hair at all. Let's see. If I were single and looking now, that's irrelevant because ultimately, like I said, the hair thing, my hair wasn't any different really back then, comparatively speaking. And yeah, I mean, please note that this is truth, that it's easy to assume that women size you up according to your looks or even to your hair. But that's what happens in your brain. That's what you think about them. I'm not saying that there are women who don't do that, but I'm saying my personal situation, that was my story. That I knew her and was friends with her for 4 months from the day I met her. And then we went on our first date, and that's when she started seeing me in a different light. And then we got married a little over a year after that, and we've been married for almost 8 years now. So I think that's a very interesting and relevant story. It goes in line with the theme of what I talk about here all the time. And I think a lot of times we have to be reminded in these videos that I make that we focus on the things that don't matter, that we focus on things that we put a lot of gravity and weight in on ourselves for our own self-worth, when the rest of the world, and even possibly the girl you'll marry, doesn't even care. And in fact, what you will do, you could even bring that burden into the relationship, and that could actually limit you and limit your confidence. So what I'm proposing to you today is, and that's hopefully one of the benefits of subscribing to my videos, is I'm here to remind you, I'm trying to get away from these vents, is I'm here to remind you, I'm gonna jump in this hole. I'm here to remind you that those things hold you back when you think like that. So that's why you need a guy like me, a masculine, married man of 2 kids, who who knows what he's talking about, because we look at things from a psychological point of view. We are not victims, we are victors. We are emotionally intelligent. I'm Nick Shell, the internet receding hairline guy. Thanks for watching my video.